live. Dude, they just saw what you did.
I don't care.
Online. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Trethewey. Hey, cheers, buddy.
Yeah, hey, nice to see you, bud.
Dude, absolutely. Yeah. So excited for this episode. This is a beautiful, beautiful spot, man.
Thank you, sir.
I like it.
It's not bad. I like it a lot, too. It's my favorite bar.
Is it your favorite bar to go to? Even?
Yeah, I tell you what, man, like B.R.I. became my favorite brewery because I made the thing that I wanted, right? Mm-hmm. The kind of the culmination of all the different breweries that I've been to. And so that is my favorite brewery because it's literally exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah.
And then, creating this Taproom Arcade, this beer bar, this is a place that like I like to hang out at. Like it's fun. Yeah.
Well, I knew that it was going to be great, right? Just because of B.R.I. and everything that you've done there. But then when I came in, about a month ago, I was delivering some issues of A Taste of AZ magazine.
Nice plug.
And,
subtle plug.
I got to get them in there once in a while. Yeah. But I came in and you kind of showed me around, and dude, this is incredible. We're going to get into some of the details. I mean, you can hear shit going on all around us.
There's always noises in here for sure.
Does it take people a while to especially people opening up to not get freaked out from the random noises?
It's not necessarily freak out anymore. It's more of an annoyance because it's constant noise in your ear all the time, but it's also part of it, right? It's part of the atmosphere, so it's good, man.
Can you adjust it?
So one of the things that I don't know if a lot of people know this, but all of these games have and the pinballs have an attract mode.
Okay.
And they're designed by the programmers to lure a person over to the game. So it makes noise and it calls you out and it does things, right, to attract your attention. So it's called attract mode.
Yeah.
Worst thing ever, man. It's just the most annoying thing in the world. So you got these pinballs over here barking at you all day when you're trying to fill a beer order. So we've turned all the attract modes off or down to the lowest level on the pinball machines, and then we don't have any attract modes on the arcade games either because it becomes too much at a certain point. But
when you have
still pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you have certain weeks where you're like, you know what, Tubin, we're going to give you the audio this week?
Yeah. So they all have the audio turned on for sure, like when you're playing. But if you're not playing it and you're walking by, it's going to bark at you if it's in attract mode, and nobody needs it.
That's interesting. That's an interesting thing that probably 98% of people don't know.
Sure.
That,
so all these games were, literally, they were designed for one thing and one thing only, and that is to steal your money. Yeah. That is what they're all super hard. None of these are easy games, right? Especially when you get back into the 80s and early 90s, none of these games are easy. So they're designed to separate you from your money.
Yeah.
Now, they're fun while that's happening, and you get entertainment value out of it, but the game is not designed to be beat like your game at home is. Your game at home is designed to be beat and to play all the way through. This is designed to let you play for 2 to 3 minutes and then eat your money.
Yeah.
So we've got we can set them at different levels for different difficulty levels and stuff like that. And we've got them all right in the middle, so you can get good value out of them for sure. But they weren't designed to beat.
Yeah.
For sure,
dude. Well, so how did the idea for this start? So go back December of 2017. I knew it had been a few years, but that was last time that that's when we highlighted B.R.I.
Okay.
We came in, did video and stuff.
Man, that was a while ago, huh?
Right? It's 4.5 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
Crazy. So,
I gotta be honest with you, man. It doesn't feel like that, but okay. Yeah. Okay.
I know, right?
Well, we lost 2 years too.
For sure.
Everybody lost 2 years. So it's really only been 2 years.
That's true.
In real time.
I like that.
Let's do that. Let's do that. That makes me feel better. Okay.
But it's been a while. So, but kind of go back and you get to hear the story of, the culmination of B.R.I. And I would say a lot of people that listen to this show at this point, they know B.R.I. at this point, know your beers.
Yeah, for sure. We're coming up on 8 years, man. So we're almost in that old guard kind of realm now, where we're certainly not the new kids on the block by any stretch of the imagination. And we were for a few years there, and that was a lot of fun. But now we're kind of getting into that old guard realm where we've been doing it for a while. We're solid. We're consistent. We love what we do.
Yeah.
And we have found that groove. We know who we are and we know what we do, and we're just riding that right now. So
how did you get there? Do you if I know that's a whole other episode in itself, right? But how did you get there?
So to hear or to just like learning who we were.
Yeah, learning who you were.
So
like,
I mean I think that just comes like day to day and repetition and like doing the grind, right? Like you got to grind, and I like, you know, there's some chain concepts around the country that have multiple different brands under their belt, and those guys, like what they do, they're great restaurateurs, but what they do is they really design concepts and brands. So like they've kind of got it figured out before they go to market. We're small, local, independent, right? Yeah. So we didn't know who the hell we were when we opened. We knew like who we were as individuals, and then it's like, how do you put your individual thumbprint on this brand? And like, this brand needs to walk a certain way and talk a certain way and smell a certain way and sound a certain way and taste a certain way, right? And all those things, but like you really got to figure it out on the fly. So like, there is no like there's absolutely no direct path. There's no roadmap at all. You just start to figure it out. And what we've always done, what I'm proud of, is that we're just like at our core, we're genuine, right? And I think you agree with that. Right?
So you saw the instant smile on my face. I'm like, dude, not a better word to describe you, Matt.
We are genuine. So we lean into what we do. We do it our way. We don't make too many apologies about shit, and I just hope that other people dig that, right?
Yeah.
And so if we can, if I can kind of express like, my inner soul onto this brand and other people dig that, well then, man, that's great, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's fantastic.
Yep.
What I don't want to do is a lot of compromising and things like that. So what I've always just done is, I guess the path that doesn't really exist is just being genuine and following the, when the world and when the business and when the customers talk to me, I listen and I figure what direction that we need to go. And we've changed directions several times. We've evolved, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's just looking at it every day, being in it, being present, having your finger on it, things like that. And that's really it. Yeah. I didn't know what B.R.I. was when, in fact, yesterday I got a Facebook memory that popped up, and it was the day or like 2 days before we actually started doing demo at B.R.I. 8 years ago, right?
Wow.
So like this November will be open for 8 years. So we just started getting into the demo phase right now, and I'm looking at this building that we're in, and it was just it's just so different now, right?
Yeah. I only know it as B.R.I. So
right. So it was this other thing before, and then we turned it into what it is now. And if you remember in the very early days, like it was very austere, man. Like it was very very minimalist. Like there wasn't a lot going on inside, like decor wise and things like that. And I was like, let's just keep it simple. Like let's focus on the beer and the food and the experience. And like we don't need this, that, and the other thing. And then over time, like you're in the space and things just start talking to you, and then you're like, you know what, this thing belongs here. Let's do this with that. And I don't know, it's an organic approach that probably a lot of restaurateurs and brewery owners wouldn't be comfortable with. Like I know a lot of people like to have like the whole capsulated thing like ready to roll,
or force it sometimes, right? Like, we need something there. Go figure something out.
I've seen that too, and that's just not really my style. So like I just like things to evolve naturally and organically, and it really has. And so now like like B.R.I. is like a really rad pair of jeans, man, that you've had for a while. Like it just fits now. But at first it was it needed a lot of work, and again we just kept grinding. So I don't know, man. That's being genuine, grinding, just paying attention to things and letting them occur organically.
Sure.
I mean, it's not. I wouldn't advise that to anybody else. It's painful sometimes, but it all worked out. Exactly the way it's supposed to. So
because you followed who you right, and that's one of those things when people are like, how would you do this? How do you do that? Well, there's so many intangibles that are involved in that, especially when it's individual, right? Like, and not saying you're not saying that BR is an individual, but I see personally, all of this, that I see you and all of this stuff, and
So I try to make sure that like the voice that B.R.I. puts out, like that's my voice. Those are my words. Like that's the vibe, right? And so and that gets challenging sometimes, right? So as we have grown, we've grown our team, we have new individuals on, and everybody brings something great to the table, and those contributions have helped steer me in new directions as well, right? Yeah. So, but I always want it to walk the way it walks and talk the way it talks and all that, and it has to have that brand voice and image and things like that. And so it's I tell you what, man, it's been an amazing adventure. There is nothing else in the world that I would rather be doing. Yeah. And so that's what's up.
Dude, cheers to that, right? Yeah, cheers to that, man. And that's why you're able to create great things, right? Because you love what you're doing, right? We talked about it, like, I've always felt that I was meant to be on this, I was meant to do something, and I was searching for that thing, and then, recently I realized, dude, I'm doing it. Like the path. This, like you said, the journey is that's
the path is rad, man. Like that's your day-to-day experiences, right? And we have good days and bad days, right?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of things, it's good.
It is.
It's good, right?
Well, especially if you've experienced, years of stuff that you hated.
Sure.
Right?
So I know we've both been in office settings and we've both been in corporate settings, and there's a lot of value in that. And you learn a ton from it, right? Yep. And I learned a ton from that world that I've been able to apply to my mom and pop local independent place, right? Yep. Because there's certain things about corporate that work and make sense, and the reason they're there is because they work and make sense, right? And so if you can bring that over and apply it to, if you can just glean those little experiences from whatever you're doing, and then apply it to what you want to do, that's what's up.
Absolutely, man. And in fact, that's been like if you're starting a small business or whatever, it's beneficial to know what the big corporations do. How do the big corporations deal with this or deal with that? Well, you know what? They got systems, and those systems work, but and it's so funny. I was telling somebody a story the other day when I was in cubicle land, and we used to have headsets on.
Yeah. Oh, hey.
Yeah. Right.
Hi.
Exactly. I just got it because they weren't
full circle, bro.
Yeah. I'm like, shit. I'm still tethered to something, But no, I love it as well.
But you know what? You're tethered to your headset right now, and that's what's rad, right?
I like that.
Yeah.
I like the way you said that for sure. Well, and what this. The place itself is really cool, and I want to get into some of the video games, or the arcade. I used to say video games, but
they are, right?
Yeah, the games. But first, the beer, right? Yeah. Because that's what I don't know. Kind of, it helped. It even refined my opinion of what B.R.I. is even more, in the sense of. I'm like, I wonder what beers they're going to have on tap, right? Because, you go to your spot, we go to B.R.I. and there's a range of things and Belgians and all this stuff. But when I came here, it really highlighted for me, like, oh, shit, these guys have carved out core beers, 480G, Lolly, Morning Sex, Urban. Like, as you go down that list, those are all ones now that are starting to become kind of those craft beer household names, Dark Side,
for sure.
Zero Figs.
Mm-hmm. We've got our core lineup for sure, and that's something that I don't see us deviating from. And the only one that's on that that was a surprise to me, or that I didn't anticipate it being a core beer, is Urban Art, because I honestly thought New England IPAs were going to be just a flash in the pan, and I thought it was going to be a fad and they'd go away, but clearly they're here to stay, and I've actually really learned to appreciate them. For what they are, but I've always been a West Coast IPA guy, and
480G, right?
Yeah, that's my baby for sure. So, so we've got our core lineup, and then we've got our secondary cores that are more seasonal, and then we've even got a tertiary core lineup as well that we don't brew them seasonally, but we'll brew them annually. But they've always been in our stable, and we're always going to bring them back and circle them back through. And I think a great example of that is one of our opening year beers, a beer that we've brewed consistently at least every year is Street Cred, the black IPA, right? Yeah. Which is absolutely absolutely, the people that love that beer, like, absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite black IPAs I've ever had, and that's why we started brewing it.
Yeah.
But like that's the kind of beer that, quite frankly, if I have that out in spring and summer, it just doesn't move.
Sure.
If I put it out in the fall, it's gone in like a couple weeks.
That's a really good point.
It's a strange thing. So I wish people enjoyed that beer all year, because I could drink it all year.
Yeah.
But you have to follow what the market's telling you.
Absolutely.
Right? And so the market says don't brew that when you're getting into warmer weather, which is just odd to me, because like Morning Sex is in our top 5 beer depletions every single month of the year, year round, all the time. And that is obviously it's lighter in alcohol, but it's a heavier beer in terms of body, way heavier in terms of flavor. And that beer just sells like crazy year round. So I don't know if it's the coffee, I don't know if it's the name.
I think it's all of it.
It's probably all of it, but so what we want to do, so the impetus here, right, is that we talked a little earlier just about kind of evolution, right?
Yeah.
So when we opened B.R.I was a very, very simple concept. And what it was for me, after, spending 20 years at corporate America, I wanted to have a local mom and pop shop. This before B.R.I even became an idea, right? So the idea was local mom and pop shop that focused on scratch food and craft beer. Yeah. And that's what I wanted to do. And that was going to be my act of retirement. I'm not working for anybody else anymore. This is going to be my business. I'm going to go home. I'm going to go in. I'm going to work, 12 to 16 hours a day. But when I go home, I'm going to sleep in my bed next to my wife, and not in a hotel room, and not traveling and all that.
Sure.
Right?
No, real quick, let me interject. When you say craft beer, do you mean making your own beer? Was the vision to have a tap room?
So originally, so this is before I even started homebrewing.
Yeah.
The idea was in my head, and it wasn't called B.R.I then, right?
Sure.
It was just like, this is my next chapter. Yeah. My next chapter is getting out of corporate America, getting out of franchising, moving in this independent direction. And so the idea was like kind of in the can. And then as our homebrewing progressed, and I started getting more and more and more frustrated with franchising in corporate America, I was like, okay, I want to open a brewery, and I've already got the restaurant and the concept. I got that in the can. Yeah. All we really need to do is we need to take our brewing operation and plug it in. So we need to find a place where we can like do all of it, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of how B.R.I came to be. So the original plan was, I just want a small, local, independent brew pub. Yeah. A place where we make the beer, we make scratch food, we take care of our customers. That's what I want to do, and I want to go home every night. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay, that was the important part. Yeah. I want to sleep in my bed every night.
Balance.
Right?
We were talking about that balance. Yep.
So that was kind of the idea. And then as we get up and running, and we start to get some exposure and some notoriety, then we have people that start contacting us and saying, hey, we'd really love to put your beer on tap at our place. Yeah. And that wasn't part of the plan. Yeah. Not at all. Sure. Right? I mean, we started on a little tiny 5-barrel brew house with 3 5-barrel fermenters. Like,
that you can see as you're sitting at the bar. You can see it right there.
Yeah, we don't have the volume to sell beer to anybody else.
Yeah.
But holy shit, it was flattering. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Like, it was flattering. So that becomes like a reactionary ego stroke. So we didn't get into distribution from a standpoint of ego. It was something that was requested of us. We did it. It felt really, really good. Like, it's a hell of a stroke.
Sure.
And so we started doing that. And then once we started doing that, then other people wanted it. And then we realized that we don't even have enough beer here at our home base. Yeah. Like, there's not enough beer at the mothership to even be able to sell to people. Yeah. So then we did the expansion. And the expansion project was to double our footprint in our retail space, expand our brewery by 400%, to be able to make sure that we never run out of beer, but also to make sure that we can get some beer out to the public. Sure. And so that was the plan, and that all happened like at the end of 2017, and we opened that expansion in 2018. And then years and years and years now, I've been making beer, or we've been making beer for ourselves and our customers, and for accounts. And what has been always crystal clear very apparent is that when you make beer and you sell it like this, it's a really, really good business model. And when you're our size and you make beer and you put it in a keg and you sell it, you're literally working for free.
Oh shit! So that difference between you pouring your own beers compared to, wow, okay.
So what sales and distribution did for us is it definitely allowed us to expand our footprint.
Yeah.
It definitely allowed us to create a lot of additional awareness and interest in our brand.
Yeah.
What it did for me personally is it allowed me to create jobs. So I was able to bring on another brewer, and I was able to bring on some cellar help, and then I was able to bring on a sales rep and like things like that. So we created jobs, and we contributed to people's livelihoods, and that's rad.
That's pretty.
I love that.
Hell
it's
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. So like all that's feel good stuff. From a business standpoint, you're doing all that work, you're making all that beer, you're employing all these people, and you're doing all these things. And there's really very, very, at our size. I'm not saying this is the thing for everybody. At our size, you're literally doing all that work for free.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that becomes frustrating after.
Sure.
Because it's a lot of cash flow, it's a lot of balancing, it's a lot of juggling. But it's good stuff.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So then I thought, so coming out of 2020 into 2021, I said, you know what? We need to, we know who we are now. We have established who we are. We know what our personality is. We know what our drive is.
Yeah.
We know what this brand is. We can articulate that. We do the same thing every day. We got it.
Yeah.
Let's open up a tap room. So I wanted to open up a tap room specifically for the purpose of bringing more of our beer directly to the consumer.
Yeah.
In a brand that we control. We control the quality of the beer. We control the quality of the lines.
Yeah.
We control the quality of the, is the glass beer clean?
Yeah.
Or is it filthy? Right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
like we control all that with our beverage going into it. And so that's really important to me.
Yeah.
Because, they're, and I would never in a million years call them out, but there's accounts out there that don't clean their own lines. And there's accounts out there that, don't have clean glassware, and they're selling our beer, and sometimes that's soul crushing, right?
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't happen all the time, and it doesn't even happen a lot, right? But it happens.
Sure.
So if we can retain control of how our beverage gets delivered to you, well, that's just better for my brand and my team and for everything we're doing.
Yeah.
So the goal was, how can we get a new location, just a simple tap room. I've already got one kitchen, and in post-COVID, one kitchen is probably one too many.
Yeah.
For any operator. It's because it's turned into a nightmare. But we wanted to open a tap room. So we started working on that. Okay, let's open a tap room. Well, back in 2020, I broke down at the brewery. I had always wanted it since we opened, but I always wanted to have a Taproom Arcade.
Okay.
I always wanted to have that in the brewery because it's beer themed and you're serving beers to customers.
So what is the game?
So Tapper, old school classic. I think it's 82 or 83, and you're a bartender and you are pouring beers and you're serving them to customers on a bar.
Yeah.
And then you have to go through and you have to collect their tips and you have to collect their glasses as they sling the glasses back down. And it's just a really, really fun, very difficult game.
Of course.
But what I loved about it is it was beer themed. And the original game that came out, Bally Midway actually partnered with Budweiser. So there's it's all Budweiser themed.
Okay.
I mean, those guys, they were ahead of their time. They're like, hey, this video game thing's popping.
Yeah.
Maybe we should get in on this.
Heck yeah.
So those were just at bars. Those were never at arcades and stuff.
Yeah.
They were just at bars. And then, a year or two later, they were like, hey, we need a family-friendly version of this for Chuck E. Cheese and all the arcades. So they made one called Root Beer Tapper, right?
Okay.
So we got the Budweiser Bally Tapper.
Dude, that's great.
And it was just one of those games that I was like, we need to have this at the brewery because why shouldn't we have that at the brewery? So
at Stapley and
at the mothership, right? So I bought that and I brought it in, and while I was waiting for that to ship to me, I found a Donkey Kong here locally, and some random guy was selling it, and I bought it, and I brought that in, and so Donkey Kong's in there. I'm waiting on my tapper. Tapper comes in, I got Donkey Kong, and then I saw somebody selling a Donkey Kong Jr. I'm like, fuck it. And so I just started buying arcade games.
Yeah.
So it was cool. Like, they were in the brewery.
You had more room now because you expanded
we expanded, and like through COVID, we had to shut down like the vast majority of our seating. So when we were forced, when we were literally forced by the government to restrict our business, I had to make some serious decisions and changes. And so one of those decisions was in that whole expansion side dining room. We had booths all on that long wall. And I said, okay, well, I don't know if these jabrones are ever going to let me open again. I don't know if they're going to let me go back to full capacity. I don't know what they're going to let me do, which is just a really weird thing for me to process.
Sure.
Because I don't like being told. Right? So I had a really rough time. Does that track? That tracks, right? So I've got these different rules and mandates that I have to abide by. Otherwise, I get completely shut down.
Yeah.
I have to put all my employees out of work. So I've got to play ball to make all this shit work.
Yeah.
So I decided to kill all those booths. I was going to leave the high top tables that were in there, but I was going to kill all the booths, and we're going to turn that into a barrel aging room.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? If COVID or some other pandemic comes up, they can't tell me I can't age beer.
Right.
So that's like, come on, like I can stack those barrels up to the ceiling. Like, so maybe in this environment, it's a better use of that space.
Yeah.
So we made the decision to do that. We stacked that whole wall full of barrels, but then that room kind of becomes, it became a little vacant. Right. So it just wasn't as full. And I couldn't make it as full because I couldn't put people in it.
That's right.
And I really wanted to have people in it.
Yeah.
So we started stacking up arcade games and kind of turned it into like a little arcade room, barrel aging room. There's still seating in it. So as I'm going through that and I'm exploring that idea at the brewery, and then we're talking about doing a satellite tap room, it just occurred to me one day, I've got two passion projects here. I've got two things that I'm very excited about. I love making beer and being that hospitality place and taking care of our guests and giving great experiences. And I also I grew up on this stuff. And not only did I grow up on it, but I remember when I'm of a certain age that when I was born, arcades didn't exist. I watched arcades become reality. I watched them become a thing, right? Yeah. And I remember going to, Pizza Hut, the old, red tent, actual, legit OG Pizza Huts. And there'd always be, these little cocktail tables, and you'd play Miss Pac-Man, and you'd kick your sister's ass at Miss Pac-Man and have fun doing it, getting grease all over the top of that thing and spilling
grabbing
your soda.
some stuff from the salad bar.
Yeah, for sure. So, but when video games, hit the market as a big thing, as a big entertainment thing, that happened in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool, and it was formative.
Sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Right? That's a part of my childhood.
Yeah.
So so then you fast forward, and I'm 15 and 16, and I work at this little amusement park in the Podunk little town I grew up in, but it's very similar to Golfland.
Okay.
Just a little smaller, right?
Yeah.
So there's the water slide, and there's the bumper cars and the go-karts, and then there's a big arcade.
Yeah.
And so we had free run of this arcade, and every day after our shift at the water slide, we'd get a fistful of tokens, and we'd play arcade games. And so I remember when some of these games literally when they got them, when they first were released and they showed up, and the next weekend we had this new game to play.
Yeah.
And it was just cool, right? So again, just formative years. something that I've always been passionate about, like arcade games, like video games in general, whether you're playing on a home console or you're playing in an arcade, it's a little tiny slice of escapism.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
You shut everything else off.
Yep.
You're in the moment. You're playing a game. You're entertaining yourself, and that's always like I'm not like a huge gamer by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
And I'm not good at any of these. I have a lot of fun playing them, but I'm not good at any of them.
Yeah.
But there's that for 25 cents, I can be entertained and I can escape like all the external bullshit.
Sure.
I'm just like in the moment. And I think that's pretty cool.
That's pretty
Right?
badass.
It's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, hey, man, my battery's about to die. It just died.
Oh.
Perfect. So let's take a little pause here.
Yeah.
Can I get a refill? Can I get a 480G? Mm-hmm. And then we'll get this thing rolling.
Oh, I got 480 Gs for you.
All right, should we do a little new little spur of the moment, waiting for the talent beer review? We're here at the Beer Research Institute Arcade and Taproom, I think is the official name of the place. Beer Research Institute. Our pals at Beer Research Institute are doing amazing things, and Matt Trethewey is somewhere around here. I think he's probably fixing a video game. But he just poured me 480G West Coast style IPA, and it's delicious. And there's an advisory on here that says gangster hop excessive content. Never saw that before, Matt. Never saw the advisory. No, that's great. West Coast style, one of the best in the city, in my opinion, in the state of Arizona. Love B.R.I, and don't say it too loud or it might go to his head. All right, get it. What'd you get, buddy? Same thing?
Oh, yeah.
Crispy?
Yeah, I'm on crispy right now. It's warm out, and I have to actually work and get shit done, so I can't drink 480 Gs all day anymore like I used to.
Well, it also helps that I'm 280 pounds.
Yeah, you
know?
can probably handle that one a little bit better than me, but yeah, man, it's first couple of years in this game, like, I don't want to go off the rails, but like first couple of years in the game, you have this, or I don't want to put my shit on anybody else. I had this this thing that was in my head where I thought that like I always had to be hosting. I always had to be like engaging everybody, and like everybody wanted to have a beer with me. So I thought I had to have beer in my hand all the time, right?
Sure.
And that was usually 480G.
Yeah.
And so, you're drinking 8% IPAs all day, and man, that's not good. It's not good for life. So I had to have a little wake up call a couple years in, and just kind of get my shit together. And so now, listen, I love the beer we drink, and I love to have like 480G is still my favorite beer, and I love to drink it. What I kind of approach it at now is like I approach beer like food. Like I want to enjoy it. I want to revel in it. I want it to be an experience, right? Yeah. And so if you're drinking 480G all day, every day, it's no longer an experience. Like you're just getting a buzz.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. You're chasing that. And so now when I drink it, I don't drink that every day. And so when I do have one, I'm like, God damn, there you are, baby boy. How you been? How you been, old friend? Oh, I missed you, And
that old friend will treat you well.
It will treat you really well.
8%, it's a big hug.
And so now, like, when and I think this is kind of the brewer's move. Like your typical brewery, they're gonna have a couple throughout the day, and man, if you're not drinking light lagers, like you're in trouble. So Crispy Boys is one of these ones that we came up with a couple years ago, and it is beer flavored beer. It is craft made. It's everything I want it to be, but it's that session beer that you can just drink literally all day long if you want to. We got a little love song to my boy Ryan Sandlin on the label there.
So those are all three versions of Ryan.
Yeah, those are my Crispy Boys right there.
That's great, and congrats to Ryan and Laramie on the spot up there.
Oh yeah, their expansion's God, it looks pretty sexy.
It really does.
I need to get up there.
Yeah.
I need to get up there, Ryan. I'm sorry.
We'll be up. We should go up and do a podcast.
Oh, there you go.
With them.
I've been busy. I'm sorry.
So, this is a great beer. Love it. Love the design.
Yeah.
So you decide that expansion. You've been wanting to kind of expand, pour your beers from your taps in a different environment, and all of a sudden, it gets you in attract mode, right? Tapper was in that other room talking to you, saying,
he was talking to me
Matt,
for sure. Well, and so like I get a little I tend to get a little obsessive on things for something will grab my attention for a while, and then it's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And so, like after I bought the Donkey Kong, I was really excited about that because I love that game. Like that's my favorite game in the whole house. I love it. And again, I'm not good at it, but I love playing it. But it just there's so much memory and so much experience tied to that game.
Yeah.
Whether it's the best game in the world or not, it doesn't matter. It's my favorite,
Yeah.
and I will constantly play that game.
Yeah.
So, and then I buy that Donkey Kong Jr. and I was like, okay, fucking wheels are off the bus. Let's
so Donkey Kong Jr. was that was the tipping point.
That was the third one I bought. Yeah, and that was, and then I'm like, okay, I'm all in. And then I had to have a talk with my wife, and I had to say, okay, so hey, I'm doing this thing. And so just buckle up because I'm on something now.
Yeah.
And she knows, like, if I'm on something, I'm on it.
Yeah.
And so then I just started. So I had the idea in my head, and I was like, okay, so I'm going to talk to, and we've got a good handful of minority investor partners at B.R.I. now. And I was like, I know for a fact, like everybody's already on board with a tap room.
Yeah.
Everybody's on board with it. The vast majority of them, when they come into B.R.I., they're having fun playing the games. They know it's kind of a little, passion project of mine.
Yeah.
So I just started buying games.
Yeah.
And I was like, they're gonna be fine with it. And they were. And they were. Right.
Yeah.
So I was in tune enough to know this is gonna work. And so I brought everybody together and I was like, hey, let's get a meeting together and let's chat. And I was like, this is what I wanna do, and it's gonna be fucking rad.
Yeah.
And they were like, that sounds rad.
Yeah.
And so we did
yeah.
it. So everybody was on board.
What year was this approximately?
So this is 2020, end of 2020.
Oh shit! Okay,
End of
so
2020.
pandemic's already freaking throwing haymakers. And
Yeah,
doing this shit.
But I'm like, okay, so we're either gonna bob and weave, and we're gonna get through this. Which we, man, no lie, like we took some hits on the chin that year. Like that was a gnarly year. I've never seen anything like it in the entire time I've been in the restaurant industry or in the beer industry. Never seen anything like it. And I don't know anybody out there that would say anything differently.
Yeah.
But you either rise up and you start swinging, or you duck down in the corner and you start crying.
Yeah.
And I'm not that guy.
You're not a crier. I've never seen
I'm
you
not,
cry
I'm
more
not.
than
Well,
twice.
I mean, I've cried.
You do seem like a sensitive
Dude,
yet.
listen, man. If somebody's hurting a puppy, like, come on, right?
dude, right?
I can't handle any kind of abuse like that. But
Well, it comes a bit like you're a business guy. You know.
I know that, like, we either have to be swinging and throwing fucking haymakers, or we're done.
Sure.
And that's really what 2020 looked like for a lot of people. Like, either just get it or you are done.
Yeah.
And so we just started swinging, and I was able to. There were some big structural changes that year. And on the backside of those structural changes, I was able to get an influx of money into the company. And, the partners that I have believed in this idea. Yeah. And so we self-funded this. Like we ponied up our money to do this. So I didn't go out and get a bank loan. And it was just one of those things, like, if we can't do it on our own, like, let's not do it. Like, let's make sure this thing floats.
Yeah.
And so we leaned in and we did it. And so by that point in time, like, by the time I got the approval from everybody, like, I was already sitting on like 6-8 games and stuff like that. And I was like, cool. Well, hey guys, I got a head start. Let's go. And then it was the hunt, right? And the hunt is very exciting, right? Like the hunt is a lot of fun because you're doing like these barn picks and you're doing like lot buys and you're trying to like size up the person that you're buying one from. Like, is this somebody that inherited this and like doesn't know what it is and like just wants it out of their house, or is it a guy that like flips arcades and is going to try to drive the price up?
Yeah.
And so like everyone was a haggle, everyone was a deal, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. But
you come in with a stack of cash, and
Well, I came in with a half a stack of cash, and the other half. Right. So listen, man, this is all this thing's worth. Like, let me get it out of your way for you.
Yeah.
So I got some great deals on some of these games, and then I overpaid on a couple of them too. Whatever. I looked at it as an average on everything, and I tried to maintain that average, and we did.
Yeah.
So we're good on that. I've got a couple of like absolute bangers. That ice cold beer that you're looking at next to Tapper.
Yeah.
That's a rarity, man. It's not a video game. It's not a pinball machine. It's like this little electromechanical amusement thing that it's just weird. But the design on that comes from a company called Taito, and Taito made several other video games, but they also made this thing. And that was specifically designed for bars. And if you make the ball all the way up to the 10th hole, you light up the star. And the way it worked back in the day in the bars is if you lit up that star, you got a free beer.
Ah, shit.
And it's called ice cold beer. And the playfield looks like a beer with bubbles and stuff in it.
There's a girl in a dress, blonde girl.
Yeah, it's just really
holding
cool.
A beer.
It's just a really cool, unique game.
Yeah.
But like that game, like that's the most expensive game that we own in this entire collection.
Okay.
And it was one of those things where I saw it come up for sale, and I was like, if I don't buy this, I can't haggle this guy.
Yeah.
If I don't buy this today, I'm not going to see one of these again for another like maybe 5 years.
Wow. Okay.
So maybe, right?
Sure. Because you knew like this is a rare opportunity to have.
And it was here locally, and I was like, I'm on my way. I will be there in a minute. So I drove all the way over to the West Valley, picked it up, and we had to do some work to it and stuff like that. But it was one of those things where like you either get it or you don't. So I wanted to make sure that we had, some beer-themed games in here. Tapper was obviously the impetus of the whole thing. Ice cold beer definitely fits. But then, I don't know, man, we got a bunch of cool stuff.
Got a bunch of cool stuff.
We got a bunch of cool stuff.
Well, in when you were guiding me through last time I was in, you were explaining about like, so it's not, once again, it's depth, right? It's like with the beer. It's like, oh no, that's just not a West Coast IPA. There's story behind it. There's some depth to it.
Yeah.
With a lot of these video games, you're talking about how some of them are like the original console. Like there's depth to the stories as far as like that's the only one that has that. That's, right?
They definitely mean something to me, right? And I don't know if that doesn't translate to the the casual player.
Sure,
nobody cares, right? But to me, I do. Like that Donkey Kong is number 3036. That's the serial number.
Yeah.
3036.
Right.
There was a couple 100,000 of those machines made. So that one was made in the first year Donkey Kong machines were ever made.
Yeah.
Right? In the US, right? Because they were originally made in Japan. That's one of the first year production Donkey Kongs from Nintendo of America.
Yeah.
That's just rad to me.
Hell yeah, it is.
I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter to anybody else.
Dude, there's a market. We're in a big city. There's a big market in this city for people to say, dude, they've got one of the oldest Donkey Kongs. Hell yeah, I'm going to go there. So I love it.
So we had a guy, there was a little convention over here a few weeks ago called ZapCon. I don't know if you heard. Yeah, ZapCon. No. So they do it every year. It's a video game and pinball convention. It's right in downtown Mesa. It's at the convention center.
Really?
And we're like, okay, well, we're going there.
Yeah.
So we set up a booth. We brought Tapper and ice cold beer out, beer-themed games out at our tent. And we just put them up there for free play for everybody. Everybody that came through got to play them. And then we got to go through and play a bunch of games. So I meet this guy, and he is ranked number 19 in the world on Donkey Kong. So guy gets all the way through to the end of the game, gets to the kill screen. Like, he's that guy. Like, he knows how to play the game, and he's ranked 19. That's a big deal for him. Yeah. It's a really big deal for him. It's a big deal
because that's a niche, man. Like, that's a big deal to.
He came in after the convention, and he played on our machine. He played on the lowest serial number machine he's ever played on. And that meant something to him.
Yeah.
He got his high score up on our high scoreboard.
Yeah.
I don't know that anybody will touch it for quite a while.
Yeah.
And he didn't even play a full game. He was like, I'm going to play this until I'm done with my beer.
Yeah.
And he got like 285,000 or something like that, which is just nuts. Like, I've never broken 65,000 on that game. And this dude just comes in, sips on a beer, bang, 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 285. And he's like, okay, I got to go.
God.
And so
that's really cool, though.
But then, like, Donkey Kong 3 is a game that never actually was produced. Like, the cabinet itself was never made. That was like a repro approach for originally a lot of these games were in bars, right?
Okay.
So you got a bar owner that's trying to make money on a game. They want the quarter revenue. So let's say 2 years in, Donkey Kong's not producing as much money anymore as it used to because it's getting kind of old and tired.
Oh, yeah.
So Nintendo comes out with Donkey Kong 3 and they go, hey, we've got a new computer board for you and we got some new artwork. And all you got to do is take your Donkey Kong artwork off and put this new artwork on, pull your board out, put a new board in, you got a whole new game. You can make more money again.
Yeah.
So they never made a cabinet for it. It was just like a retrofit kind of thing.
Sure.
Well, we have a Donkey Kong 3 cabinet that is pretty rad. And it's a great game. Well, because I made it, right? So I bought a red Donkey Kong cabinet, and then we just outfitted it all. We did the retrofit for Donkey Kong 3. But I don't know this is a fact. Sometimes I'll just state facts.
Sure.
Let's just do that, right? I'm going to state a fact that is
Matt.
the only Donkey Kong 3 in the state of Arizona.
Yeah.
Because I don't, and I only say that because I don't know of anybody else that would even put the trouble into doing that.
Sure.
And it's not a very well-known game, also it's not a game that gets played here like very often.
Okay.
But I got a handful of guys. Every time they walk in here, they dump a couple bucks into it.
That's what they go to.
And they love it,
Yeah.
right? But it's just it's an oddity,
Yeah.
right? So maybe that doesn't make us a lot of money. And it doesn't need to. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's furniture at this point, right?
Yeah.
It looks good. It's sexy.
Yeah.
It's a great game to play. I mean, Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat 2 are going to produce 10 times as much as that game ever will.
Yeah.
Like, ever.
Sure.
But it's also one of those things where, like, this is an arcade. It's a bar. At a certain level, it's kind of a museum as well because there's games in here you just don't see in other places. You don't see a tube in anywhere. I mean, there's a couple of them, and that's a rad game. It's a buddy game, and you drink beer and you smash buttons and you have fun.
That hadn't crossed my mind in 20 plus years, right? Like that, because I remember that now. I don't know where it was back home, but Tubin was
a fun game.
It was a great game, and then it just left me for so many years.
Right.
And then when I came, I'm like,
you're like, what?
Tubin? Like, holy shit!
So,
and it's cool too because it looks different. It stands out because it's taller, it's skinnier.
Atari did a great job on some of their cabinet designs where they really tried to make them distinct, and I think they did that better than any other manufacturer. Because a lot of the games are just funky cabinets, and it's cool.
Yeah,
but. So like that's an oddity, and it's one of those things that, again, it's kind of a beer centric game. Yeah. You're tubing down a river, and the goal is you're picking up these 6-packs and these individual beer cans in the river, and then you're throwing them at your buddy to slow him down so you can pass him, or the guy that's fishing on the side, or like there's like a certain part where I think you're like in New Zealand or Australia, and there's these natives that are shooting darts at you, and you throw beer cans at them to stop them from doing that. So you're
beer
collecting
cans are your weapon.
Yeah, your beer cans are your weapon, man. So it's a great buddy game, and like we always see, hardly anybody plays that solo. It's always two people.
Yeah.
So. I don't know, man. Like this was like a trip down memory lane for me because I got to go through and grab all these little nostalgic pieces from my childhood, and kind of back to the B.R.I. mode is that like we don't try to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
I try to do the thing that I think is rad, and I hope everybody else thinks is as well, right? And that's really the gameplay.
Yeah.
And so what I did is I curated this list of games that I was stoked about, and I'm just hoping that other people are too. Yeah. And there's a couple of them that I was like, I could really care less about the game, but we have to have that in here. Yeah. Otherwise, like, what are we doing if we don't have that in there?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a big Street Fighter 2 fan. But like, if you don't have Street Fighter 2, like, what are you doing with an arcade bar?
Yeah.
Right? There's so many people that absolutely love that game, and it was revolutionary, right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
Like it started a whole genre.
Why two? Why two and not one?
It's just a better game.
Okay.
You got better character. You got better movements. The original Street Fighter had like this really weird like delay button where like you powered up your attack.
Okay.
And then those fail all the time, and
that was kind of the iconic image, though, right? Like when a Street Fighter character would do that, but they would free like still, right?
So we've got Mortal Kombat 2 as well. Mortal Kombat 2 is arguably better than Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 2 is like it. Street Fighter 2 is the game.
The game.
That is the game.
Well, and the research and the knowledge that you have helps to like people. Why don't you have the original? Because the second was
because second one's better and people want to play that. So like from a nostalgia standpoint, I mean, could we bring Street Fighter in here too? Sure, of course, we absolutely could. It's not going to get played anywhere near what Street Fighter 2 will. So, but we can certainly do it. But anyways, it's been fun, and it's this thing that I'm consistent with, which is I'm going to do what I want to do because I think I got a good handle on what people want, and I hope they dig it.
Yeah.
And so, like, a lot of people are like, hey, why don't you have like NBA Jams and NFL Blitz? And I'm like, because it's like I what I'm trying to do here is recreate that 80s, early 90s arcade that I grew up in.
Yep.
But instead of drinking beers out in the parking lot, we can just drink them in here now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when you start getting into those newer like 2000s games, I think it changes the vibe. Like, we don't have a Golden Tee in here. We don't have a Buck Hunter in here. Like, those just aren't the right vibe. When you come in and you see all these games and then you just open your ears, like we still do the same like skate punk that we do over at B.R.I.
Yeah.
But like now in here, like it's heavily leaning more towards like new wave.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of Cure and
Velvet Underground.
There's some Velvet Underground there. There's Joy Division. There's Talking Heads, stuff like that. But it's all like really rad music, but it's very period music as well.
Yeah.
So like I want this to have that like weird 80s vibe that quite frankly, retro is always cycling back and forth.
Yep.
But like there's a whole thing, there's a whole pulse to that 80s vibe, and it's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Well, and great move on that too, right? Because like you said, Buck Hunter, Golden Tee, those ones, like that's
not it.
You find those, like you get those. They're at a lot of places, and they're but. Like this is different, man.
Like
this is
you want to
different.
play. You come in here, you want to play Galaga.
Yeah.
You don't want to play Golden Tee, right?
Dude, the pinball.
The pins.
Machine. You got to talk about the pinball.
Yeah, let's talk
machines.
about the pins.
Call them pins? Can I call them pins?
Well, yeah, you can call them pins.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll tell you what, bud. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. No,
the pins are pretty rad, and they were always part of the plan. What we ran into is I don't know if many people know this or not. Pinballs are like absurdly expensive. Like you can buy a car for what you buy a pinball for.
Really?
Right? Yeah.
Why?
Well, because they're rad.
Well, if you think about like all of the intricacies of it, right? Like I mean, I feel like these are they're programmed, right? I mean,
like I work on all those,
Yeah.
and I've just learned that shit over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
So it's not like and absolutely, there's like there's a hard stop on what I know, and like I know like okay, I know what the problem is, but I don't know how to fix it.
Sure.
So I need to call somebody in. But a lot of the stuff I know how to fix and repair, and sort of a couple of my partners too. So it's like we handle most of it by ourselves. This stuff, that's a whole different world.
Yeah.
So we were very fortunate. I found two different guys that have a huge collection of pinballs, Jake Danzig and then another guy.
What a badass name, Jake Danzig.
His name's Jake Danzig.
That's his real name?
That's his
Jake
name,
Danzig.
yeah.
Nice
Every time I wear a Misfits shirt, he's like, I like your shirt. And I'm like, fuck, I know. Right? So Randy Webb is the other guy. So we have so Jake owns the vast majority of these, and then Randy owns 3 of them. And so what they do is they bring them in, they put them on account. People play them and enjoy them. Those guys maintain and repair them. They keep them up and running,
nice.
and then we just do a split on them. Well, what that did is that saved me probably about $80,000 to $100,000.
Dang.
Yeah. So like I didn't have to lay out that cash.
Yeah.
And now we just do kind of a split on it, right?
Huge benefit
So,
for them too, right?
great.
Like,
Well, yeah, because these are either sitting in their garage or they're out making them money.
Yeah.
And now they're out making them money. But yeah, they take care of all the maintenance and all that. So we got some pretty good pins in there. Again, they're mostly like 90s era pins, which is again kind of my sweet spot. That's when I was working in the arcade as a kid.
Yeah.
It was like early 90s. So that's kind of where we're at. We got
T2,
one.
dude. T2's been peeking over our
for
shoulder
sure
the whole time.
And that one gets a lot of love as well. And then we got this pin bowling right on the end, this Big Lebowski themed pin bowling.
That looks badass.
Let me tell you something. Last month, so they wanted to bring that in like before we opened. They're like, hey, I want to bring this in. I was like, that's not going to play, man.
Yeah.
Like, people want pinball. They don't want pin bowling. That sounds lame. I love the theme. Like, I love the Big Lebowski theme. Like, it fits into our bar, all that. But I don't think so, Jake.
Yeah.
And then we went out to ZapCon, and he had it out there. And every single time I walked past it, people were playing it.
Dude.
And people were having fun playing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then he approached me again. He was like, hey, like, I've already got this thing in Downtown Mesa, and instead of taking it all the way back home, I just want to run it. I just want to put it in your shop.
Yeah.
Let me put it in there for a month, and if it doesn't work out, I'll get it out of there.
Yeah.
That was the highest playing game last month.
No shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that's awesome.
People come in and they put their tokens in it, and you're bowling, but you don't have to rent stinky shoes.
Yeah.
Like, it's rad, right?
That hurt your feet.
Yeah. So, but like, you get 10 frames, and people gather around that in 2s and 4s, and it's group pin bowling.
Oh, you can do group, dude.
Yeah,
That's
it's so much
awesome.
fun.
Hell
So
yeah.
like, that's like a really fun game, but it's not really pinball, but it's like pinball format. And then the other games are super rad. Like, we got a really good Tales from the Crypt that gets a lot of action. Little Super Mario Brothers pin gets all kinds of action. Roadshow from Williams is an amazing game. Tons of fun to play. Creature from Black Lagoon, like you said, T2. We got a Dracula over there that pulls quite a bit of attention.
That Walking Dead one looks pretty badass. Like,
Walking
that's
Dead
a little
one,
advanced, right? Like, that's more.
That's the newer school, like Stern Pin, and it's cool, and people love those new, like, there's a whole group of pinheads that chase all these new games, and so like that's kind of an older game at this point, but it's newer in terms of our lineup.
Sure.
So they enjoy it.
A new classic kind of thing.
Yeah. The casual player here wants to play pin bowling. They want to play Mario Brothers, and they want to play Roadshow.
Okay.
Like, that's what the casual player, and quite frankly, the casual player is our customer
For sure.
So
yeah.
We get the pinball guys in every once in a while, and man, they are absolutely just wild about pinball. Like, they love it. They're passionate about it. And like, that is what they do in their spare time. And it's really, really exciting to watch, because, like, man, they know these machines like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Like, they know what to do on them.
Dude, niche is
I just try to keep the ball from going down the damn hole, man. That's all I'm trying to do.
Right, yeah. But you know what? I'm with you. Like, I would enjoy all of this. But I see you and I being similar in the sense of it's perfect, because I mean, and this is the whole retro thing coming full circle. What a great thing for somebody who doesn't have a good attention span. I can barely make it past the loading credits of a Xbox game or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
these games boot up immediately.
Immediately thro in there 2 minutes
Done.
later, I'm like, cool, that was cool, or that sucked, I'm
so
out.
So we I guess I'm gonna jump a little bit, but like, we've had a lot of people ask, like, why, like, because there are arcades out there that are free play, right? Okay. So there's free play arcades. There's also like wristband arcades, where like you pay for the wristband to get in, and then everything's on free play.
Okay.
Well, so if you don't have any investment in the game, then you're not going to really enjoy it. I want you to have that visceral experience of grabbing a token and putting it into the machine, and knowing that you just separated yourself from 25 cents, as small as that is.
Yeah.
But you just separated yourself from some money. So invest yourself in the game.
Sure.
Play it.
Yeah.
Play it all the way through. Play all three guys. Don't just like play the first guy and go, oh, this game sucks, and walk away.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens in wristband places. They're just like, I don't like this, and they walk away. Well, like, actually, I promise you that if you put like $2 into any of these games, you're going to find a point where you start to enjoy it.
$2. So that's kind of a sweet spot.
I think that's the sweet spot. So if you already know the game, you put a quarter in or a token in, you're going to have fun. You're going to enjoy it. If you've never played the game before and you just dump 8 tokens through it and stick with it and play it, you're going to have fun. I promise. You're probably going to get your ass kicked.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
The game's probably going to chew you up and spit you out. But then, like, I think that's kind of part of it too. Like, we've got a couple games in here that are so just frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, piss me off every time I play them. But that's why I keep going back, because I'm like, it's got to be easier than that. I got to be better than that. I just need to play this more, right? And
put in the reps.
Yeah, you can put in the reps, right? Do the work.
Yep.
Take the steps.
Yeah.
So like you got to do that, and then like once you break through on that, and you're like, oh shit, I understand how this thing works right now. Then it's fun.
Yeah.
But you kind of got to get there. And I think when you got a free play scenario, people don't do that because their attention spans are like, we all have attention spans of mosquitoes now, right?
Yep.
So like you play something and it doesn't immediately hit, and you're like, later.
Yeah.
So you have to make an investment in yourself and in that game here, and that's why we do the tokens. Also, they're branded and they're really rad. And,
oh no shit!
Yeah,
I got
our
to
logo
see some
on
of
it.
that. Well, and you can. Well, I know at one point when, and I know we got to wrap up. You've got to open up here soon, but.
Yeah, you said this was going to be a half hour. Whoa, bro.
2 half-hour sessions. Dude, the camera can't even keep up with us. We lost the video again, but no, it's good. It's good, man. No, love this place, man. Do you still have it where people can become it's not a mug club, but it's a
Oh, the free play club?
Yeah.
So I did that as sort of a like a last push fundraiser.
Okay.
Quite frankly, so this project took us a year to do.
Yeah.
Which was at least 6 months beyond my time budget, and then it also cost us about $150,000 more than what I was anticipating it to cost. So what I did is, like, right there in the home stretch, I created this free play club, and it was a poker chip, and if you bring that poker chip in, you would get free gameplay.
Yeah.
Not on free play, but you get tokens.
Okay, I gotta see what you're saying.
To play the games for free. So you still have that versatile experience of putting the token in.
Yeah.
And then you get happy hour price on all your beers every time you walked in.
Yeah.
So I just did that for a very finite amount of time right before we open. It is very exclusive.
Yeah.
And then I cut it off once we opened. I was like, this was to serve a goal, and the people that got in on it got stoked for you. Stoked for you, because you guys got it. You got it made
for life,
and for a year. For a year, buddy. Calm the F down, please. For a year. And so there's a couple other perks that come along with it as well. We're going to do an annual party where it's just people that have that chip. Like, you have that chip, like, doors are closed to the public. You bring your friend or your girl or, your significant, whatever.
Yeah.
Come in, you plus one, and, like, the whole place it's yours.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll do that once a year. And again, it was more of a, I wanted to do that instead of I don't like GoFundMes or what was the one that everyone used to do like years ago?
Oh yeah, Kickstarter.
I'm not doing a fucking Kickstarter, man. So
Matt Trethewey is not a Kickstarter.
I'm not doing a Kickstarter. Yeah. But like if I can create something of value and give somebody like a little inside, like I'm better than you because I have this chip. I am so much better than you, bro. Look what I got.
And I know it when I see that chip.
When you see that chip, you're like, I'm not as good as that guy.
What can I get for you, sir?
Can I get some of them tokens? So that was a very limited thing, and we sold a good handful of them, and it was of interest to a lot of people, and it's good. It's good. It's flown. We see these people in here every week.
Yeah.
Maybe not all of them, but like I'd say, bro, we've only been open for 2 months, right?
We've only been open. It seems like it's been a lot longer than that.
Well, I mean, this project's been a lot longer than this, but so we've only been open for 2 months. So we're seeing these guys at a very regular pace, and then like anything else, like as time goes on, it'll be less frequency, and we'll see them a little bit less. I'm assuming, but like we got it into the right hands. Like definitely a couple influencers, like people that are like always chirping about games and beer and stuff like that.
Nice,
so it's fun.
Very cool, dude. Well, I like I said, I know you got to get rolling here.
Do you have any last, like, do you have like a hard, like, pointed question for me?
Well, I had one earlier, but I'm like, why the hell is Golden Tea not in here, Matt? No, I was just kidding.
It's because it sucks.
But you know my style. I'm not hard hitting. I'm you know, you're good at doing what you do, which is talk about what you are creating. not a bad way.
I can talk about me all day long, bro.
But no, you're very like that's what I love. That's why I love talking with you, whether it's on a microphone or it's not on a microphone. Is you're so passionate into all this stuff, and there's a draw to that, right? And that trickles down to your employees. That I would assume trickles down to the customer.
Sure.
Because that's why, like, you hadn't really talked about it. I'm like, dude, tell people about that Donkey Kong 3 thing, right? And it's really cool because
it's cool. I tell you what, it's cool to me.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think like there's a lot of things that are cool to me.
Yeah.
And man, if 10% of that reflects to being cool to if 10% of what I think is rad, like reflects to the customer and they think it's rad too, I'm going to be fine, man. Like everything's going to be good.
And you know, not to be the curmudgeon-y old man, but that approach allows you to avoid the people you don't really want to be around.
Well, 100%, man. And like I said this earlier, and I've said this in previous podcasts, B.R.I. is not trying to be all things to all people, right? If we were, we'd probably be way more wildly successful than we are. I'm not trying to pander. I'm not trying to do. I don't want to be Chili's, man. Right? Like I don't want that. We do what we do. We do it really, really, really well. And if you like that, that's rad. You're gonna dig it. And if you don't, that's cool, man. There's 100 other places to go.
Exactly.
And I'm just perfectly fine with that. And a lot of people aren't. I am. And it's man, it's so fucking freeing and just it feels good.
Dude, much love, my friend.
Thanks, brother.
I would cheers you, but I'm out of beer.
Oh, dang.
480 OG was great. Thanks for having me, man.
Cheers.
Keep up the good work.
Thank
dude.
you.
Yeah.